Hey everybody, Mega Ruler 31 back here for FSI DFS. It's Memorial Day weekend. It's Friday, May 28th. Before we get started, thank you to all those who have served our country and your family members who have served our country. So really appreciate all of you done to protect our freedom over the years. So we have a 12 game slate on Friday, which looks like a lot of the games might get eliminated due to weather. There are some heavy rain concerns on the East Coast. Last night seemed to be like a train wreck with weather also. But the Chicago game played. Otani got scratched. It's just like one thing after another. But we might have to expect that again tonight. So, like I said for yesterday, I would build a lineup that you really like and put it like maybe in like $1 GPP or something like that. Build a safe lineup. If it looks like your original lineup's going to play, just import it to all the rest of your cash lineup, and you'll just have one more dollar in that lineup. If it doesn't look like it's going to play, then you can just change it up, make it another GPP, or then just go with your safer one. So the weather concerns. Washington looks like against Milwaukee, looks like that one could get rained out. The Mets Atlanta looks like a very strong chance to get rained out. Boston and Miami looks like it could start, but then rain comes later on in it and might not make it through the full game. New York Yankees and Detroit, it looks like the rain's going to be early. It looks like it's going to die off after first pitch, maybe a delay there. What field? I think there's a chance that they probably get that one in. And then Toronto and Cleveland, it looks a little bit worse there. It looks like the rain still continues through around where first pitch is, and there's still a 50% chance of rain afterwards. So not sure about that one. But after that, everything else looks pretty good. So let's talk pitching. So tonight, and again, it's the situation where we have to watch the weather on this one. The top pitcher on the slate is definitely Garrett Cole. I know 2 starts ago against Texas, it looked like he had a great matchup. He ended up giving up 5 runs, but he bounced back against the White Sox and looks good. He gets the Detroit Tigers. He has faced them already this year. He had, let's see here, almost 40 DK points against them. And I think he had like 11 or 12 strikeouts. So definitely love the matchup. If the weather holds up, lock him in as your SP1. If he's not available, then I think Walker Buehler would be the next in line. I'm not sure if I consider him like 1 and 1A. I think he's number 2 because I think there's a lot of choice to be made if Cole's not going to be available. I think I would rather pay down a little bit and save my money for bats. So Walker Buehler comes in against San Francisco Giants, who have been doing really well this year. I think they're still leading the division, but they've been a surprise. They've been solid. I know they have some injuries, but they keep on coming out there. They lost yesterday, but it was a close game against the Dodgers. So, but I think Buehler is definitely one to consider as an SP1, even in this matchup. Ian Anderson, again, this is a weather game. He gets the Mets, who only have about 2 or 3 major league players. Everybody else is banged up. Alonso might be back, but still, how much do we trust just coming back first game from an injury? Anderson has some strikeouts. Again, watch the weather on this one. I don't think this game is going to play, but I think that he's one that I really like potentially if Garrett Cole doesn't get to go. But the weird thing right now is the Mets weather looks worse than the Yankees weather, but the Yankees are playing in Detroit, not in New York City where the Mets are. Next up in line, I mean, you have some other pitchers here that you could consider in the mid-range, but the next one I jump down to is Sean Manaea. With Mike Trout out of this lineup, Otani's supposed to be pitching, so I don't know if he's going to be hitting there. There's really nobody that scares me against this lefty. Rendon's been struggling. Walsh is a lefty on lefty matchup, so I really like him in this spot. The other guy I like, and Manaea, you don't have to worry about any weather. So if you want to make him your SP2, I completely understand that. Ryu is the second guy I like here against Cleveland. He is a good matchup. It's in Cleveland, so it's not in that Toronto ballpark where it's kind of smaller and might struggle. He's been having a solid season, so I like him. And there's also some pairings where I'm possibly not even going to go to the top, especially if we lose Cole. Like I said, paying down. I really like a pairing of Manea and Ryu, and that gives me a lot of nice bats to stack. And we'll talk about that in our final section here. Dropping down below, you have a lot of risky guys here. Like Valdez, don't know how long he'll go. That you have Houston and San Diego, so I mean that's a really strong matchup on both sides bat wise with some decent pitchers. So I have no read on which way that game's going. So even if this turns into like a 7 or 8 game slate with weather, I'm still going to fade that game. John Lester struggled, even though Milwaukee struggled. I think they can still get to him. Justice Sheffield, no. So Ohtani's down here at 7-8. And I think, he's more of a tournament play. Oakland, they have a couple strong power left-handed bats like Olsen and Brown. But I think he'll do well against the righties if he can keep things under control. Not saying playing him in cash, but I think he's definitely in play for tournament because he can get some strikeouts, and they have let him go a little bit. If you saw your scratch yesterday, don't worry, it wasn't an injury or anything like that. It's just simply that the bus couldn't make it to the stadium, so they had to find alternate transportation. And by the time they got there, it wasn't enough time for him to go through his normal routine and get stretched out and everything. So, they just kind of threw some other arms at them. Going on down here, the only other guy I would consider is DeSclafani for San Francisco. And I know if you look at the box score, you're like, wow, they just played him 5 days ago, or he just played this team. He gave up 10 runs. He had negative 15 DK points. He's been pretty good throughout this season. And I know that this is a little bit risky, but in GPPs, if you want a cheap SP2 that has having a really good season, and I think that he has the potential to go out there and at least pay off his price tag. So I know it's a tough matchup against Buehler. I know it's a tough matchup against the Dodgers. But if you're really looking for somebody if you look at the people around him, you have Poteet, who against Boston. Like, I love the Boston bats there, but the weather concern. Lament's just coming off the IL. I don't know how long he's going to go. Mees, no way against the New York Yankees. Bubik, we played a little bit here, but against his Twins, I don't like. Matt Harvey, no thank you. Del Heichel, no thank you. Lyles, Eli Morgan's a brand new pitcher going against Toronto. It's not in that Toronto park, but still Toronto's a really good team. Like, there's really nobody down here. So again, Cole up top. If he's not available due to weather, Walker Buehler would be the next probably top option. I like Ian Anderson. Got that you have weather concerns there. And then I really like in the mid-range Manea and Ryu, and dropping down Ohtani. And if you want to go down to the furthest, DeSclafani. So let's talk about stacks. And again, we got to go back and look at the weather here. I really like Boston. Again, it's this young pitcher that Miami's throwing out there, and they have a 5 total, but again, it looks like there's going to be a decent amount of rain there. I don't know how much they'll get the game in before things start to get wet and they might have to cancel. I like Toronto in Cleveland. I think, there's a chance of rain there too, but this one looks a little better because it gets less and less the later they go. Morgan is a new pitcher. I would take almost like any of the bats here. I mean, they're going to be pretty expensive. I don't think they're a top stack on the slate. Their total is only 4.43 because sometimes younger pitchers come up and nobody's seen them yet and they don't know what to expect. I think Morgan they say he's a good pitcher. I don't think he's like an elite prospect or anything like that. So we'll see what happens there. I think it's a little bit different than I think it was yesterday where he had the new pitcher come up for Toronto against the Yankees, and we were kind of like, what to do with him? He's only 4K, and he actually had a really good game. I think he ended up with a win for that one. So definitely like the Yankee stack again. If the weather holds up against Mees from Detroit, especially the lefties, there's not too many in this lineup. I'm not really sold on Gardner. He's starting to decline, show his age a little bit. But Odor I was out on him early in the season, but I think he's showed me that he's definitely playable still, better than his former Ranger partners and Drewis, who just doesn't seem to have it anymore. Mike Ford, I like him if he's at first base, if he's batting like anywhere above like seventh in the lineup, or maybe in a wraparound stack. And obviously DJ Judge, flip a coin between Urshela and Torres. Like one of those would go in the shortstop. Urshela's been mildly consistent, like at least getting like a hit every game recently. Torres has had a couple of cold games, but before that he was like white hot against the Chicago White Sox. I think he had anywhere in the high teens to 20s like every single game. So and then if you want a cheap catcher, not super cheap, but 3-2, like Higgy usually catches for Cole, and he's a decent hitting one. I know it's not the split advantage, but Muse has been bad to both sides of the plate overall, so definitely take him. I think we can also go back to Chicago White Sox. I know we love Chicago White Sox against left-handed pitcher. Well, Matt Harvey's kind of a reverse switch pitcher. He's been kind of neutral switch and bad to everybody. So I think that we can go with a 4 or 5 man stack here. We'll have to see if Tim Anderson is back in the lineup. When you have to pick your catcher here, I would go with Grandal over Mercedes and save the 400. I think Grandal profiles pretty well against him. Mercado, Abreu, and Andrew Vaughn probably to finish it off. If Madrill ends up like leading off or something again, he's a cheap second baseman at 3-3. Sometimes that's a hard place to fill. So I think I want to go to this Texas and Seattle game again. I stacked it last night, and they did pretty well. I like Isaiah Kiner Falefe. I just call him IKF. If he leads off again or is hitting higher in the order, he gets a lefty and Justice Suffield like that. Solak, Adolis Garcia, he's like one of my new favorite guys to play at 3-5. Like he's hitting for power. He's really having a great season. Nobody's really talking about him. He doesn't get much ownership, so I like them. And then Sheffield does good against lefties, so I don't know. Maybe I'd throw in Chris Davis at 2-5 to complete the stack over like taking Lowe or Gallo at like 3-4 or 3-8. But the Seattle bullpen isn't great. So if they do get past Sheffield and then they get a righty from the bullpen, I guess they'd work in the stack later on. But then I also like the other side here, Jordan Lyles, who we thought was pitching yesterday when it came out to be like Alford. He's not a great pitcher either. So love lefty bats here, especially Kyle Seager, Clinic, JP Crawford, and I have no problem mixing in like Hanger or Lewis either to do a 5-man stack there. I think for like a GPP stack, if you want to, Walker Buehler has struggled a couple of times and San Francisco has done well. I would they could throw a lot of lefties at you. Yes, Dickerson, Crawford, throwing like Posey and Longoria in between there. They have Jason Vossler. I have no idea who that is. He's a 2.2 third or outfield eligible. So if you want to get cute with a wraparound stack there, even though the pitcher's in the middle, again, that's just GPP only, stacking against one of the maybe a chalky pitcher there if you're not playing him. And if Cole is eliminated, then I think that's a place to maybe be sneaky for a GPP play. But my favorite stack and game overall of the night is going to be St. Louis versus Arizona. It's going to be hot there. The roof's going to be open. Temperatures in the high 90s. That ball's going to be flying. I love having a completely right-handed lineup pretty much in St. Louis against Madison Bumgarner. Yes, I think he did have a no-hitter this year. He has pitched well at times, but like I think, that was earlier on in different situations, not where it was this hot against a team that can put up runs. I know they're kind of hit or miss sometimes for St. Louis, but I think this is definitely going to be a hit one here. And I think Arenado has really good BVP versus Bumgarner. I think he's got like 3 or 4 home runs against him. So I love, the top of this order, Edmund, Carlson, Goldsmith, Arenado. And then, if you can fit pay up 3.9 for Molina for your catcher, or just take 4 of them. But I think I'm just going to stack the whole game because I love the other side too, like Arizona against like Oviedo here. Like you have a bunch of lefties in this lineup. So Rojas leading off, if he's there, Marte and Escobar are switch hitters there. Peralta not having the season that he has had in the past, but I think he's definitely one that you can look at. Pav Smith, his first base there. Sometimes he's lead off also. We have Josh Reddick still hanging around there at 2-3. Like I think he's better than Brett Gardner, so I definitely could see playing him in the outfield. So we got a lot of choices there. So I'm not going to go through all these games here today because I think it's just going to be a waste of time like I usually do. It's a large slate. I think I've given you enough options for pitching and for like hitting situations. Of course, in GPP, play anything you want. I mean, if you've got a read on another game or like something, go ahead. But I think those are the spots I'm going to hit. So let me just skip right to the roster breakdown section. So I think if you want to play, let's start with rain. So let's Cole and a Yankee stack. So take Cole, and then you'd have to figure out who your SP2 is. I think you're going to throw in a 2K catcher. There's 3 2K catchers out there. I think the one I'd look at the closest would be Goldie from Seattle. He gets Lyles, who I think is one of the best matchups for like a catcher that's cheap on the slate here. So lefty righty matchup, hitting at the bottom of the order. I mean, if he walks or gets on and stuff, the top of that order could to drive him in, move him a couple bases, I pick up a run here and there. So I'm not expecting a huge game from him. But at 2K, if he gets me 4 or 5 points, I'm happy. But 2K, if he gets me a 0, then, and if it gets me the other guys in my lineup that I want, then I'm fine with that too. So, like I said, I would take Ford, Odor, Diamahu, and Judge as my core 4. If you want to go to the 5th one, I would take one of the shortstops, either Torres or Urshela. I think there's like a $200 difference between them. Yeah, so if you really need the extra 200, then go down to Urshela. Torres, I think the guy I kind of prefer. And from there, you can fill in the rest of your spots. You have not too bad if you take, see here, if we take SP2, if we take Monera, that gives you like 3K for each one of your outfielders that are left. If you drop down to Ryu, I mean, that gives you a little bit more. You can, I think Carlson from the St. Louis is like right at 3K. I think there's a couple Milwaukee bats against Leicester if that game plays right-handed outfielders that are 3-1 that are in decent matchups. So that's the way I'd finish that off. Okay, so if it is raining and you want to go and like I said, my favorite stack is going to be the St. Louis and Arizona game. So let's throw in Cole and let's throw in Ryu there, and then we'll start stacking this game. So I think I'd take Goldsmith at first base, Rojas at second base, but I could also throw him in the outfield. He's just kind of like Kiki Hernandez from the Red Sox. I can put him in either one there. Arenado at third. Edman, I'd put him at shortstop because there's no other shortstop that really qualifies that I'd play in this game. Carlson, outfield. Marte, outfield. That leaves me like 2-6 for the last 2 spots. So again, if you want to change your lineup, if you want to go down to Walker Buehler, if Cole doesn't pitch, or if you want to drop down to Ohtani, that gives you a little bit more for these 2 spots. If you throw in the 2K catcher like Goldie or Goody, some other guy, then that gives you about 3K for your final outfield spots. If you want to get the full stack in, then I think the pairing you need to go with is, like I said, Monera and Ryu if Toronto doesn't have any weather concerns, and that opens you up so you can get a full stack with catcher and outfield of this game. And I kind of really like going there. The final one I'm going to look at is the Chicago White Sox. And it's all going to depend on what's going on here. So if you start up top with one of the more expensive pitchers, I think you're going to have to really go with some cheap fill-ins for the rest of the spots. But I kind of found a build where I have Ian Anderson and Ryu as the pitchers, and you could also do Manaea too. But the other choice too is, do you actually play one of these White Sox catchers like Grandal or Mercedes, or do you take the punt 2K guy and then fill in the rest? So what I ended up doing was I ended up getting 4 White Sox in, because again, I don't know if Anderson's playing or not. If Anderson is playing, then I might have to put him in and drop down at pitchers due to the Manaea and Ryu pairing there. So that's what the decision. I'll have to see when lineups come out. But I was able to get 4 White Sox and 4 Texas Rangers in. Really like the stack. And like I said, at pitching, I have Anderson and Ryu. Like I said, for the catcher, the choice is going to be Grandal or Mercedes. I'm leaning Grandal. I like Abreu, Makata, and Vaughn, I think is pretty cheap at 2.5. So I like him there. So that's what we have. Again, have a safe Memorial Day weekend. If everybody's out celebrating, be responsible. Don't drink and drive. Just be safe. Enjoy some baseball. Hopefully the weather will hold up, so some of these games will get in, and just hope everybody has a great weekend. And McKinley will probably be doing the videos for the weekend, because I and TK will be trying to conquer NASCAR. There's 3 races this weekend, and it's another situation where qualifying is right before the race. So it's going to give us limited amount of time to try to get the information together once we see what the lineups are, and get it out to everybody. So appreciate you guys watching. Please give us a like, subscribe to our channel. Check the bio below if you want more information from FSI, how you can join our Discord, which is free. It's a great community. There's lots of resources there for free. And then we do have our premium packages too also. So once again, MegRuler31, leave a comment below. We'll try to get back to you with information to help you out, or reach out to me on Twitter at MegRuler31. Thanks again for watching.